Set to start. 80 seconds.
Hi, I'm Neil, and welcome to the Crosscast. It's episode 8 of season 9, and we are mid-Kerste period and in the middle of a shed load of racing and, of course, a shed load of festivities as well, which we'll come on to. In today's Crosstalk, I was planning on picking and choosing much more than we're going to be able to, because it's just so tough. There's been some absolute Christmas crackers over the past couple of weeks. It's been a good few days for those cross watchers out there. We're going to look back on 3 World Cups, Antwerp, Koksijde and Gavere, and we will certainly mention the zinging Zolder, and we'll try to drop in a couple of things about Hofstade as well. Now, in the last round, we will look ahead to the final round of the National Trophy. It's going to come from Irvine, and we're going to we're going to look forward to some of the upcoming World Cups and classics that are on the calendar. I'm joined in the studio by Matt Payne and by Xan Kreese, who not only has been racing these World Cups, but also you've had your birthday breakfast today. So first of all, happy birthday, Xan.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today and giving us some of your precious birthday, not racing today time. And this is our little mini birthday party for you, Xan. So I hope that you had a good breakfast.
Yeah, well, I mean, what better birthday party than talking about cyclocross on my birthday? So, you know what, I'm here for it completely. It's been quite a nice day, actually. I had pancakes and coffee for breakfast, so, you know, you can't go any better or any wrong with that. Then went out for a lovely little ride this morning, which actually has been one of the warmer rides. Whilst it has been very dry over here in Belgium, it has been incredibly cold and the wind has been freezing. And I think it was like 1 degree, but the sun actually showed its face today. So even though it was really, really cold, it was actually, compared to how it has been lately, a really pleasant ride. And kind of just nice to get out for that kind of leisurely spin on your birthday, obviously, in the midst of all this really, really hectic racing.
Yeah, before we hit record today, we had to work out whether to have your blinds open, and which would then be blinding you, or blinds closed. So even though it looks like it's nighttime, actually, you've got your blinds down so that we can get a decent camera shot, and you shut out that gorgeous sun that it looks like you've got.
I know, as I was saying, the sun, I think, has kind of been hiding behind the clouds lately, so it's lovely. It's not nighttime. I've just had to do this so you can actually see my face, and my jumper doesn't just illuminate the entire room. Yeah. Matt, where have you been? Where are you spending Christmas this year? Are you in France still? Are you back in England? Whereabouts are you? And what have you been up to?
Mostly laid in bed really poorly, actually. I've not had Christmas. I thought I'd bring my Christmas to the show.
Oh, look at that.
I thought I'd bring the Christmas to the show, and this is my Christmas. This is my Christmas moment, is this, because I actually got a bug just after last weekend. And so I've done 48 hours on nothing, literally, and then another 48 hours on dry toast. So yesterday's show was good. But no, so Christmas has not really happened very much. I've seen the inside of not a lot other than my eyelids. So, but I have actually watched all the cyclocross, which I think was, I'm taking these off because it's really disturbing seeing those on the camera. I've been in France because we've got the better connection, the studio, and the forecast here has been lovely. So I thought I'd get loads of bike riding in between, because I'm always inspired by the cross period. It's been blazing sunshine, and it's been gorgeous through the window, through the roof light coming in through the window. But then it has been Baltically cold, northerly winds, certainly here in France, and it's been the overnight frost. We actually had a white Christmas because it actually snowed on Christmas Day morning in France, and it was white everywhere. It lasted about half an hour, but we did have a white Christmas here. Everybody was out going, "It's amazing, isn't it deep snow?" And I'm looking at it thinking, that ain't Yorkshire snow. That's not snow. When we were kids, we had rate snow. We did. It was like right up to top at door. It was proper But no, it was quite nice, and I got to say a big thank you to the friends who saved Christmas dinner for me, brought it round, and it got eaten by everybody else in the house. Because nobody went out over Christmas, and everybody else has eaten my Christmas dinner, and I've had none of it. I don't like to face it. It's still dry toast for me at the moment, that's for sure. But I have loved the racing. It has to be said, and it's one of those weird things because it's not just Xan who has a birthday today or in the Christmas period. Neil, your birthday, if I'm not much mistaken, happy birthday is it Christmas Day?
Oh yes,
a proper Christmas Day
Oh,
baby.
yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, so
so
it was nice.
I'm guessing you were home.
Oh yeah, always. I've never worked on Christmas on my birthday, which is nice. So
really, I can't remember the last birthday. It didn't work.
So yeah, so it's been nice. We've been at home, a lot of the family at home, and then we've got So we were kind of in a period of not traveling very much. So we do quite a lot of caring for Caroline's parents who are up the road now. So that's quite nice to be close and convenient and see them over Christmas. But it's been nice for us having some of the family back. And we've got a bit of a swap around today. So a couple of them are disappearing and a couple of them are returning. So it's going to be good. But it's been such perfect weather. We put in some miles over the past few days. I've been out riding with Lotta. And the weather has been absolutely perfect for this time of year. It's been beautiful, blue skies. We've done all of our old routes for when she used to live here. She now lives in Stirling, Scotland. But we did a lot of those routes, which has been good. Unfortunately, I haven't been out with Finn. He's got what I'm going to refer to as a finjury, so that's going to realistically put him out for the rest of the season, which is absolutely gutting. So
oh no,
he's on really
nothing
good form.
Too serious. Well, I say nothing too serious. It must be if it's the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's injury which we're going to need to be careful with. So gutting, but that's the way of it, and you have to take it on. And his view actually, I thought was nice and mature on this was, look, I know other people that have kind of raced through injuries, and that's basically been the end of what they've done. They've had to stop, so that's the last thing he wants to do. But it's so I've missed not riding with Finn. I have to say I missed that a lot, but it's been great to have him at home with us. So yeah, but in some ways it's been very similar to both of you, seeing a lot of cyclocross from different sides of the tape, and yeah, certainly have enjoyed a lot of that and catching up with a lot of it. It's been, I tell you what's been fun actually for those people who have watched everything. Just go back to Antwerp and Koksijde, and even if you just watch the highlights. Okay, I did this morning, I have to confess. So I did a park run this morning. My legs are still quivering, but and then I kind of came back and I kind of reminded myself, and actually it really unpacks the whole of these races, and you kind of see it from a slightly different perspective when you know what happened later on. It's been really, really good actually. You kind of get those you can see what's happening before you get to the full end of this period. So what we're going to actually do as we go through today, we're going to kind of run through some of the races, just kind of the headlines, and then look at the context rather than digging deeply into the sand or the mud of many of them. But Xan, you were racing at three of them. You were Antwerp and Koksijde, and then Gavere. So how did it all go for you? What was the flow, and how did it all work for you?
Yeah, see, I think, and you've probably noticed it from like watching the race, or even just looking at the results. We get to this time of year, and because there are so many races, suddenly the field sizes just swell and grow. And like your your very top part of the field, yes, we have had a few come back. We've got Puck Peters back. The men's field have Vanderpoel and Van Aert back. So there's like a few top riders back, but it's more a case of all those ones in the middle. Like they're not the ones that are being 80%, but they're not the ones that necessarily are fighting for the top 10. Although we have, for example, at Gavere yesterday, seen a few people come back. Like there are a few that are coming back at this time of year. So there's Vida Lopez from the USA who's come back into it. We have a very great British rider, Zoe Backstead, coming back tomorrow at Dendermonde, which is really exciting. But like you're seeing just so many more riders. So whereas normally, like when I might be racing, I might have like I've got maybe someone 10 seconds up and 10 seconds behind, but I'm by myself. there's now like an extra 5 riders that are in that kind of area with me, which means like you're actually having a lot more battles and races, which is great, but it is also making it that much harder. And the first 2 races I did, Antwerp and Koksijde, are incredibly sandy. On a normal course, riding around in a group, not a problem, it's fine. You're getting a bit of a tow. Yeah, you might fight into a corner or on a bank. But the problem with the sand is you want to be by yourself. It is the one time at a bike race you don't want anyone else near you, because when you're by yourself, you can pick the line. If you make a mistake, you can like kind of deviate. You can control the pace you come into it and the speed you hit it. As soon as you're in a group, you're completely at the mercy of the rider at the front. If they go into it fast, that's great. You can. If they come into it slow, you're probably going into it slow. If they come off, you've got to now get off. So for me, someone who I quite like sand, to be honest, but I want to be by myself. Yeah. So when I'm with a group and the rider in front's not as confident and they get off straight away, I'm like, oh no, I could have ridden like twice as long as I've had to, and I've had to get off and run much sooner.
So I think I saw one of the, to be honest, I can't remember if it was Antwerp or Koksijde, but there was one where the leaders were coming one way with the TV coverage, and then I think you were going the other way, and you just were in shot for a fraction of a second. But and as we saw, oh look, there's Xan. Then there was this. So of course we couldn't see what was ahead of you, but behind you there's like this about 20 riders all in this one massive pack, and you could just see how like one mistake and you've lost 10 places just immediately. So you could totally see like what you say. So do you do specific sand training? I'm saying this as someone who's got the 2 sandish races coming up.
I mean, like personally for me, it's quite hard. Like when I'm in the UK, there's not many places to go. Like I live near a beach and you'd be like, great, sand. It's a pebbled beach. There is no sand. And like, it's one of those things you try and do. But when you come out to Europe, you've got so many races. Trying to squeeze it in so hard.
And only you, Xan, could go live near a beach and not have a sandy beach to go on there. A bit like you're the only person who's managed to go like the entire cross season without finding any mud so far that we knew of in the last show. In terms of this period, this first half of the Kerste period, for anybody who's not been sort of in the location, has that dry trend really continued as much as we've seen? Because when you talk about riding in the sand, I mean, the sand changes a lot. We've seen a lot of different sand across the racing. Has that weather, when we sort of go and look at the races maybe a little bit more depth, to put that into context, is this still in the context of really dry conditions, or has that changed? Did that change partway through?
Like, as far as I'm aware, it has still been incredibly dry. And in terms of those sand races, so your Antwerp and Koksijde, you might think, being dry doesn't make a difference. But actually, when the sand is dry, it's a lot looser. It doesn't compact as well. So actually, it makes the sand even harder to ride. So this year at Antwerp and Koksijde, you were getting incredibly deep ruts, but deep ruts that were really, really hard to ride because there just wasn't anything holding them together. And then Gavere, which is more recent, everyone always told me, oh yeah, that's a mud fest, that's slippy, that's always rain. The Belgians here are like, oh yeah, the Gavere is always wet. I don't think anyone could believe the state of Gavere yesterday and just how dry it was. I was speaking to some people and they were saying basically here in Belgium, it didn't really rain in September and October. And normally it's kind of the rain then kind of puts that underneath layer a bit wet. So then when it rains, it just goes. Whereas this year, because it's not wet underneath, it's raining on the top and it's just drying out and there's nothing to basically become that mud that we've seen before. And I think over here, the only time they've really seen mud was like Koppenberg, which is crazy. Yeah. Like,
and that wasn't as muddy as we've seen it by any stretch of the imagination, was it? So, so it is a bit. It's continuing onwards. You're still doing the rain dance in the background.
So, Xan, there were those of us, family gritty HQ included. We saw Gavere yesterday, and then we saw your position, which wasn't great off the start, and then you DNF'd, and we were like, oh no, what's happened? I'm sure there were many listeners who had the same emotional journey. Put us out of our misery. You're okay? Did anything happen? What was the story yesterday?
Yeah. So, first off, I had a lot of lovely messages checking in. So I'm really grateful to all the support I'd had when everyone, I had so many messages. It's so lovely these days. When I have a DNF, I get, lots of messages oh my gosh, are you okay? You were right. It's never why did you DNF? What you do? It's always oh, we hope you're okay, which is just so lovely to know I've got that support in the background. So thank you, everyone, for that. Luckily, I am absolutely fine. My bikes are fine. There was no crash. There was no mechanical, which some people go, okay, so why did you DNF then? And the problem was yesterday, it wasn't necessarily the race itself. The race was like, I didn't have a great start, and normally I'm a kind of rider that has a good start and then tries to hold and might slip back. But realistically, the problem for me was actually the day as a whole. So unfortunately, in the morning of the race, like got all the van loaded, got everything ready. Our car then didn't start, and you might think, oh, that's fine. But we were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get to this race? And I was very lucky that this year Gavere had no junior races at all. If it did, I probably wouldn't have even made it to the start line because of the sign-on time would have been earlier. Course practice also would have been earlier. But then, luckily, thanks like the friends we have out here, we've managed to get a lift to the race. But we managed to get to the race with me and my 2 bikes, my kit bag, and that was about it. We had no rollers. We had very limited spares. We only did, I think there were about 4 envelopes left when I made it to sign on, and there were only 4 of the riders who hadn't signed on. Normally, I course practice at about 11 to 10 past 11 on World Cup Day. I made it to the course at 12 o'clock, and there was a whole nightmare with parking. And I tried, and we were kind of like, oh, should we even bother? And it's like, you know what, we've made the effort, we've got here. Our friends have really gone out of the way to get us here. And this part of me is like, I've made my boyfriend and my sister spend Christmas in Belgium. So I was like, I need to do this. I need to be here. I've wanted to do Gavere for so long. And then unfortunately, I really tried, had that bad start, and I just couldn't get into the rhythm, and I kept kind of passing riders and then falling back. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes you just need to know when to call it a day and say, actually, I'm not going to get much out of this. I've got a lot of other events coming up. Maybe if I actually give it a diet rest, let myself mentally and physically recover from this, I'm actually going to have a better time. So I kind of got to the lap 2, and I was like, you know what, I can just tell, I can't get the usual fight out of myself. Usually I'm aggressive into corners. I want to fight. I want to move up. And that just wasn't there. And I was like, yeah, okay, I think today this was too much. And I gave it a go, but it wasn't to be. And I'm kind of at peace with that decision that I've made. And I've got so many more races. So there's always going to be another chance.
It's the time of year to do it, isn't it?
Oh,
it's
exactly.
Right now.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it in the Kerste period where you've got a lot more races, a lot more options. You
yeah,
can
and a lot more in a few days.
Within the next few days. Not like it's like the last race of the season. You know that then you've got to wait for 9 months as well. And I think, making that decision, knowing when to stop, it's the hardest one to do. I think most people probably push through and keep on going, and then you either alienate yourself from what you're doing and how you feel about it. It's so easy to do. It does say so much about the background, and it's the things that we don't see, and even a lot of the riders don't necessarily appreciate, particularly if they're on a big team, is that network behind everything that makes it happen behind, and how important family, pit crew, mechanics, the flow of the sign on, how even down to car parking, like you say, you get there late, there's no spaces left, how easy the flow is in. Every little thing can affect when you're right at the top, and I think that's true. Certainly, whenever I raced, and I think I was racing at a much lower level than you, and you're racing World Cups. It's the same for you, and I'm sure Neil, you probably think the same. It's so much of a race is not the race itself, and no matter how good you are at shutting everything else out, it's what happens around you, the atmosphere, and everything else. And I suppose one thing you can guarantee is the atmosphere at all the races this Kerste period is at least good. So if you went there, at least there was some really good crowd and great atmosphere.
Yes. As I found out, I think 67 must be the new number that children love, because every single child on the course screams. Apparently, I must have been number 67 because every single child screamed 67 or 67 at me. So even though I had a bad day on the bike, I had that, and I think I'm always going to remember that from today, how funny that little tiny moment was.
You were indeed number 67.
Yeah. Honestly, don't dig into it. It will be soul destroying.
Okay, I will leave it at that.
Just take it. Just take it. But it's the right thing to do. Is to be traumatized by the youth of today. But I think that leads us on quite nice actually, because we were saying actually, and for Antwerp, it was with Thibaut Nace, watching it, and he was clearly not on it that day, just like you weren't at Gavere. It wasn't their day, I was like, well, why is he not just stopping? Why doesn't he just get off and save himself for another day? But he kind of pursued on and went on to the finish, even though he was clearly, it was awful for him, because we didn't see it for you, but for Thibaut, it was like, oh man, why are you just carrying on? Because this isn't going to get you the points you need. It's going to be a nightmare. It just shows how, like, some riders on some days, when it doesn't go well, sometimes it's like it's probably best to just call it a day. And
3
and
points.
we saw that, and we saw that later on in Zolder, as an example. A lot of people deciding, okay, this is a time to step off. I've been in the pits at Zolder, actually, and then Sailing Alvarado came, kind of suddenly came into the pits and stepped off the bike. You think, why are you doing that? And then you kind of see it when you kind of watch it back afterwards. You kind of realize what's happened in the race. So no shame for stepping off. It's choosing when to do it is the actual key. So at Antwerp, the winners, actually, there were no surprises kind of in hindsight, but we've had race after race of just fabulous action. So we had those dunes in Antwerp, and Brand finished, actually it was just ahead of Alvarado. We had Van Alphen in third for that one. And I think in that case, we've got Alvarado coming back and looking good. We'll come on to this a bit more in detail later on. And then we've got Vanderpoel taking the win ahead of Sveik and Verstringer. And this time, Sveik came over the line, and of course, I knew why he was celebrating so much, but that was when he took the World Cup lead. So I think he was celebrating and taking that World Cup lead there in Antwerp. So a lot of stuff going on there, and it was nice that it wasn't just those at the front.
Yeah, I thought it was I loved the race. Thought, like you say, a lot of it was about chasing through from behind in that race. It wasn't necessarily about the very front of the race. It was what's going on behind. I've never been a fan of Antwerp as a course, and I've never thought it's that thrilling. It doesn't provide key moments. It's quite subtle in lots of ways, and yet I really loved it. I loved the twin lines coming in over sections. I love the way that people rode at different things. I love the way the chase was coming, and you could just sort of see it building. It was a bit of a pressure cooker. It built and built, and then you got to the end, and actually it seemed more. It was like, oh, actually that was really, really. I thought great to see it back. I thought it was one of the best. It was a good Antwerp.
Yeah, but there was
good
no
vintage Antwerp.
Yeah, but where was the coverage of the Porthouse? One of my favourite pieces of architecture, industrial architecture. They normally zoom in on a couple of times. Didn't see it this time.
It's been superseded by Sardinia, mate. It's it's waved the white flag, and it's not going anywhere. The Navy's gone, mate. That's it. You've had it.
Yeah, shocker.
Air Force is a new Navy now.
Yeah, yeah. So the following day, we went from Antwerp to Koksijde, second sand race in 2 days. We had another Vanderpoel Sveik 1-2. Of course, keeping Sveik in the leader's jersey. This time it was Van der Putte coming in third place. Brand, well, she continues her run this time ahead of Van Anrooy and Alvarado again. I must say, in this one, I really did enjoy it. There was Brand and Van Alphen. And Brand was riding, and Van Alphen knew that she could run quicker than riding. So I thought, just get out of the way, and kind of had the bike on her shoulder, ran around Brand, and was in front. And about 20 seconds later, Brand returned the favour, did them exactly the same move back again, which was great. And actually, the other one there was I think it was someone dismounted. I'm sure it was Sveik. Someone dismounted. He went offline in Koksijde, out of that rut, and rode around the running rider offline, and then went back into the rut again and carried on. It was like, wow.
It's like he had a snowplow on the front of the bike, wasn't it? Or a sandplow in front of it to just be able to do that. It's just, I thought there was some really insane things. And I loved the comment, I think it was from Ian Field. I thought I've watched a lot of I always watch the races twice, minimum. on the way through. That's my game plan, to get as much information as I can from the previous races. So I'd always watch all the other races. And my favourite comment of possibly the season so far is they've taken every single bit of sand, every sand section we've ever used in the entire history of Koksijde, and stitched it all together to make this version of the course, because it was the new course version. So for the Worlds in 2013, I went to that, and it was when we were on the airfield. It was Baltically cold, airfield finish. And since then, it's stayed really like that. And this was a reverse back out onto the road for the start finish. And it changes the way that you go into some of the banks and the way it laid out. But the fact it was every sand section known to the organisers, the military who comb it and patrol it non-stop, 'cause it's basically the airbase, hence the Air Force term. It really is, for me. I thought I loved it. I'm not a fan of courses being all one thing, but I thought Koksijde, classic course. Please leave it like that now for a little bit. Don't change it for a bit. This is great.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because Antwerp, when I finished it, I was like, you know what, I feel okay, I can race tomorrow. I finished Koksijde and I was on my knees. Like, the way it ran this year, it was so much harder. But I also like that for a course. Like, it's good occasionally to have those courses that you were like, wow, that was brutal, because I think it gives good racing, and it's actually quite a rewarding feeling for the rider going, wow, I've done that. Like, that was horrendous, but I've done that.
Did you, as a rider, did you think it was a plus or a minus being that way over the previous ways?
Oh, like there's bits that, like, you might not see obviously from watching. Like, the way the course was this year to me was so much better from every point of view. The start now is by the riders parking, which means it's easier for, like, the Swannies and the mechanics. It's easier for me. I'm not trying to get through the entire crowds to get to the start. And I think it raced better, to be honest. I think it raced really, really well. So I'm all for it.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, there were bits of the course that I only missed in hindsight. When I was watching it, I didn't miss them. Yeah, and so it was only afterwards I thought, oh, that bit was, I didn't get any of those bits and pieces. But yeah, I think obviously it's a major sand race, and if actually I think if you take, well, it's true for Hofstade as well actually, but if you take Antwerp, Koksijde, Hofstade, even though Hofstade, we wouldn't call it a classic, it's been around for a very, very long time. These beach sand, and you think, well, how can cyclocross be possible? Well, if you think what its name is in Flemish, Veldrijven, which means that field racing. So actually, it makes more sense that actually it's either field racing, so you're racing in fields and woods and stuff, and because you do so many on the sand, actually they're not muddy. So you've kind of got that. It somehow it does make a little bit more sense than just racing just in the fields like we get in the UK. So I mean, I did wonder whether Van Alphen not having a great sprint was something that could have been picked up on for later races at that point there. I would say Hofstade, another sandy one. I quite enjoyed having a variety of riders there. The riders who weren't there actually made it quite interesting to see those who are not normally on camera as to who was on form and at the front. And we did see Van Aert, I reckon it was for 3 or 4 minutes, he kind of had the belief that he could chase down Vanderpoel. And then I think the belief faded in Hofstade. He had a really good go, I have to say. He had a really good go, but it just didn't happen. It'd be nice if we could see it at some point. I think as soon as Vanderpoel's got 10, 20 seconds, he doesn't get chased down. Yeah, people try, but it kind of tends not to happen.
I thought it made a breath of fresh air, and there were some really, really nice ways that they take that course. I thought the course layout actually was really good, and talking about sort of twin lines and choices, that for me had the one of the key sections where the concrete jetties access runs go down into the lake, and you could either take the direct route or the long route round. And if you did either route well, you were in front. You did either route badly, you were going to go behind. And it was so counterintuitive to go take the long way around for people. But then loads of people did it and they thought it was quicker. And then actually it wasn't always quicker. And you could almost see it playing with riders' heads. And I love that about the layout there. There were a number of sections. Some of the skills shown getting on and off the concrete, absolutely insane. There were a couple of back wheel slides where riders held it going on. And I just looked at it and thought, I'm so envious of that skill, that balance. I thought Hofstade, I was kind of thinking, I'm going to have to watch this. And I came out of it absolutely buzzing. I thought, this is just fantastic.
It was kind of Danny McCaskill's skills, wasn't it?
It was like when he stood along the log in a long way home, isn't it? He's onto the tree, slide along, jump off. It was a bit like that. It was just like, and it wasn't just one rider. There was a couple who did it. It was like,
I think those who are racing Irvine, actually, it might be well worth going back and having a look at Hofstade, because it does show you line choice when you're on sand, how much you can take from it. So let's go on to Z. So Zolder was so action packed. They were absolute zingers at Zolder this time. Fouquenet taking her first win outside of France, which brought so much joy to, I think, every cyclocross fan in the world. It was amazing. Ahead of Vas and Van Alphen, and then Thibaut Del Grosso. Again, oh man, what a story for Thibaut Del Grosso over these few days. He took that sprint, that match sprint with Wout van Aert. Van Turenhout was in the third. But I would say, if you're going to watch last laps of any races, the last lap of the men's race and the last lap of the women's race at Zolder were both so much to watch. They were compelling, and you didn't know what was going to happen.
I didn't watch them. I didn't watch Zolder live at all. I was not in a very great way at that point in time. I think apparently couldn't string a sentence together at that stage. But I look back at my phone. My phone was pinging like crazy, apparently, and all it was messages about, "Are you watching this? Why are you not? What? Answer your phone. This is fun. Why?" Are you? It was non-stop, and you look at Zolder going back, because of where it is in this Kerste period. It's one of those races that it doesn't always get the biggest of names. It's a race where the under-23s regularly ride up, so you see riders coming in Bissu coming in and racing it this season, Del Grosso riding it in previous seasons and really excelling. I think it's a course. I thought Zolder's one of those where I'm kind of, it's a Marmite course for me. I kind of love it and I kind of hate it. I thought some of the camera angles really actually showed this year how steep that descent is down and how steep the banks are and how non-existent the transition is from the steep bank to the flat section at the bottom, because it's totally artificial. There's no gradual wash off. This is flat surface for the F1 or for the circuit, and then this huge steep bank that you drop down into it. The course, it kind of for me is it's a little bit on the risky, and yet it played out a really exciting race. And I got to agree with you, Neil. The win for Fouquenet. Not just because she's French and I'm in France, but the fact she's without a team, the fact that she's basically doing these a bit like you, Sam. She's basically taking her own bucket and brush to every race. She's sorting her transport, the accommodation. She's got this family. It's a close knit team that's doing this. She might be riding with like Airbnb Samsung on up until Sunday tomorrow for Dendermonde. Not going to be the case realistically any longer, and I think that really has appealed to people. And when she took that win, I thought it was a great reward. I did think the course did. There were a couple of points in the course where I thought bad course design almost encouraged incidents. Let's say, particularly when it happened in the women's race, the tight turn round the crash barrier at the side. If you compare and contrast that to Havre's final turn, the 180-degree turn where they put a triangle in to give you a wider run round. If people came in together, it forced you to take a wide line. It wasn't a dive bomb and pivot quite as tight as we saw. I know there's limited space at Zolder, but I thought the Zolder layout there maybe encouraged riders who maybe have a habit of falling out,
Yep.
I'm sure if Ryan Camp had been there in the midst with who else should we pick? Mr. Vantura now, or Isabit if he was riding, and Camp were in the same corner, I suspect we probably wouldn't have seen all the riders getting round on two wheels, because they just really encouraged the dive bomb there.
Yeah, they had a good go, didn't they? Xan, you must have seen that last lap. There was the Vas, Van Alphen, and Van der Heijden. I think Van der Heijden was innocent. It looked a bit more innocent in this lot, but Vas and Van Alphen, they had quite a lot of talking to each other, didn't they?
Yeah, but there are occasions, and I think often these kind of incidents actually probably happen further down the field, so they're not seen on TV. But riders do just want it. I think there are instances like this where the riders just want it that badly, and that on a lot of time riders aren't thinking of consequences. They're kind of almost playing chicken with each other. Actually, if I go into this corner, they'll back off. But in that situation, no one wants to back off. They all want it that badly. They're not going to back off. So you have them going around the corner like that. It is to me, again, whether someone got hurt or there was a crash, it'd be a different story. But it kind of looked like it was on the edge. But that to me is just racing and girls who really want to do well in that bike race. And honestly, I would say this year that Zolder, out of all the races we've had lately, whether it's because of the names missing or not, was probably one of the best races to watch. I was sat there on the sofa absolutely hooked for pretty much the entirety of both races. They were just that good. And I think one of the other things to mention is your Thibaut Del Grossos, your Thibaut and your Thibaut Nices, they're the kind of riders that they almost, you see the interviews, a lot of riders are like, oh, Vanderpoel and Van Aert are turning up, we're fighting for second place or third place. Those two are like, no, we're having it, we're going to give it a go. They still, I think they're almost young and naive enough to think, actually, I can take it to these boys, and they're doing a really, really good job of challenging those big names.
Yeah. I think so. That match sprint at the end with Thibaut Del Grosso and Van Aert, it was absolute classic. I mean, Thibaut Del Grosso, he podiumed at Gavere as well. But if you can't go back over all of these races, you just see him coming in cool and calm, and then at Zolder, there was one bit, and this is kind of a metaphorical, not an accusation, but there's one bit where it's he looked like he was on an e-bike. He was just so calm and just motoring along while everyone else.
I know what you mean. He's got that. Yeah. There's some riders all the way down, aren't there? There's really. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, you need to be on YouTube for this. It's real aggressive, elbows out. He just sort of sits there unperturbed, floating along, no matter what's going on around him, and he's just yeah, crack on, guys. Don't worry about it. When it comes to the end, let's let the legs do the talking. He is, and that showed. I think in that sprint at Zolder, for me, you've got Wout van Aert. This is somebody who can win a sprint in the Tour de France. This is somebody who can take on the best sprinters in the world and win. He's an absolute power monster. You've got somebody who is a cyclocross master. He's a legend in cyclocross and always will be. And yet, he was out sprinted. And that's going to, surely, Thibaut Del Grosso has got that day marked in his calendar with a big gold star. Yeah. On the war chart, the star is this big. It's 3 foot wide, a metre wide gold star slapped on the day, because that was the day I beat Wout van Aert in a sprint. Yeah. Or the first day, maybe, because he's always, I'm sure, looking to go onwards from there. No, Zolder was great. I agree with you. Great racing to watch, for sure.
That one, there were several DNFs at that one. And I kind of went through and was thinking, oh, they must be all the people that have done 4 out of 4, but actually they weren't. Sveik was the only one that I didn't check on all of them, I confess, but of the kind of the front runners, Sveik was the only one where that was his 4th out of 4. The others had actually missed. But I then went through the top 10s at Zolder to see who was on 4 out of 4. There might have been some others. And the person who actually, they kind of came in a bit under the radar on this one, because I hadn't realised this until actually I did this looking up. But Niels van der Putte, Antwerp on the 20th, 5th, Koksijde on the 21st, 3rd, Hofstade on the 22nd, 3rd, Zolder whatever. I'm losing my
numbers
mind here.
Yeah.
Zolder 23rd, 4th. So he raced 4 times in 4 days and got a 5th, 3rd, and a 4th. I
Nice.
think he deserves at least a chocolate coin for that, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Julie Browers was the other one to mention. She wasn't quite so impressive, but she did the 4 out of 4 as well, and her last 2 were both top 10s.
Yeah, Browers has been improving, hasn't she? And she's been hovering around. I think she's suffered a little bit of in the bigger races where you get the bigger race fields. It naturally pushes you further down the race field, and it's a multiplier depending on where you are in that race field. But yeah, it's anyone racing the 4 out of the 4. I mean, that's a solid block of full on effort, and you should. I just think to myself, you must surely be working on. You can't be going 100% for 4 races, 4 days. No matter how because then you're 100%. Your hard isn't hard enough if you're able to repeat it 4 days. So maybe they're just really good, and maybe Niels van der Poel and Julie Browers is really good in managing their hard days to be on days when they weren't necessarily suited to it. On the days that they were suited to it, they could back off a little bit, and we kept that consistency of position. Or maybe they're just machines, really, and they're just absolutely, they just have, they are the best in the world at the end of the day.
Yeah,
you're racing with the best.
Yeah, I just fear for what happened to what they thought when they got up on Christmas Day and they looked at their Training Peaks account. And it kind of says your acute load is over 700 or something crazy. And it's like, how on earth can you the amount of fatigue they must be carrying? It's very impressive. We then had Gavere. We did all day. Oh yeah, I wouldn't blame them. Yeah, we had Gavere. A lot of the details that we've already covered, but I think we did see. I imagined a world in both of those races. I allowed ourselves to fantasize over Neff taking the win, but unfortunately that only lasted about a lap. I was really hoping that Neff was going to be coming through and challenging for the win actually at the end, but sadly that wasn't to be this time. And Nace, I know it didn't happen for him, but he looked like he had Vanderpoel on the ropes on that one, or Vanderpoel was pretending, but he normally doesn't show much emotion. So I think it must have been for real.
Oh, my take on it in commentary for the UCI on the World Feed was realistically that when Nace pushed on, and on some of this, particularly on the short back, so when you dived through you went along the start finish through the avenue, you dived down through the stable block underneath the archway, you went down through the old orchards down to the bottom. There was a tight turn up and over around the big red inflatable and up and around the bankings there. Any of those sharp ones there, you were seeing Nace in the early part of that race able to they cruised up there like he wasn't even breathing, all those short little rises, and they're really steep. And Vanderpoel was looking laboured on there, and he doesn't, even when he's not trying, he doesn't usually look laboured. And he didn't go with every move of Nace's on the climbs in the early laps. And it was like he had to ride himself back in, like he'd eaten too much Christmas pudding, or, somebody poured a bit too much brandy on it, or whatever it was, or he was sulking because he got the wrong Lamborghini for Christmas. But, it didn't look like him in his normal race. I've seen elsewhere other people commenting since that he always had him on the ropes and he was just sitting there just biding his time. And I guess it's an alternative point of view. We're all entitled to them, but I think they're wrong. Still, I'm going to stick with what I said in the commentary because I don't always do that, but I'm going to stick with it because he just didn't look that. He didn't look to me like he was there. I mean, you look at Lucinda Brand as a comparison, equally winning everything she's riding at the moment, just like Vanderpoel. She's still, to me, she just looked like Lucinda as always is Lucinda. She didn't always have perfect rides. She didn't get the prep right on the run into that, having to change a bike, what was 2, if not 3 times to get a tyre. It's a really interesting social media post from Lucinda Brand, give her a follow, about her tyre choice running through from being what was a Typhoon to a Rhino. And that her initial pick was 2 Typhoons, and then the cue was that she would change to a which is an intermediate, then change to a mud on the front, and then potentially, if she shouted for mud, it would be a full mud. So she shouted to the pit. They didn't get it right. They gave her a mud front. As it disintegrated, it should have been a full mud. So she got it wrong, but she still looked to me like she was on it all the way. And she was still riding well. It was just the bike was limiting. Vanderpoel didn't look like that to me. I can be wrong on this, regularly am, but that's my take. And then what about you, Zan? What did you were there? Did you get to see?
No, I had gone home by this point.
You would probably have had to fight your way through a massive crowd even to get to a barrier, I'd imagine.
Honestly, the crowds are so good at this time of year. But when I watched it, and also maybe it's because I look at the lap times too much, but I looked at Vanderpoel and I was like, to me, it just looked like almost, and I know in theory, riders don't get start money for World Cups, but it's almost as if someone had paid Vanderpoel to say, make it interesting, don't ride off from the front, sit in for a little bit. And then when I think Thibaut made a mistake and he went for it, the lap time he put out was the fastest lap by a landslide. And I was like...
Yeah, 6:55 to 6:24.
And it just looked like he'd been holding it back, going, yeah, I'll keep it interesting. I'll ride in the group. I'll stay with Thibaut. He's made a mistake, right? I've got an excuse to go for it now. And he just put out such a lap. And I'm like, was he just holding back this? I mean, he probably wasn't. But it just felt like maybe he'd been holding this back a little bit.
Oh, I'll get my tinfoil hat on. Conspiracy theory time. Oh, it could have been. And equally, you can throw the other argument that he wasn't going well. He was putting in times that he could do, sitting with the group, and he was going with the group when he could. And there were gaps opening, and he was closing them down in the right places. But then he got into the flow. We all have days where we start riding like an absolute bag of spanners. And once we get halfway through the run, I had it the other week. I was out on the ride, and the first hour and a half, I was getting dropped everywhere. Once gone through an hour and a half, it's like somebody flicked a switch, and I was like, right, come on then. And I just rode away from everybody on the climb. And anyone who knows me in the moment, I'm not riding away from anything. I couldn't ride away from a butterfly on a climb at the moment, and I was absolutely ping. It's just sometimes it just comes right part way through for whatever reason, and it almost was like that. But yeah, you could have the alternative, tinfoil hat theory. That is, it's a big conspiracy, and he was biding his. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go with he wasn't looking as good. I'm just gonna stick with that. But yeah, I'm prepared to accept everybody. There are other theories out there that may be much better than mine on that.
I mean, you are right. There definitely are those moments where sometimes, and maybe it's like when you've had your nutrition prior to the race, or if you're taking something on the start line, and it just kicks in at the right moment. You're like, right, actually, I've worked myself up. I'm ready now. And it could be one of those. Yeah. We will never know. We will always be sitting here guessing.
Yeah. I did say the only person that's going to know, this is in the commentary, the only person that's ever going to know what it was
is
Mathieu Vanderpoel. Because he's the only person who will ever know what he was feeling, how it was going there. And he's pretty tight-lipped in that. For me, I thought one of the things about Havre, and I thought it was really interesting, was the way that it had changed from being what was essentially an into slippy because it was icy, turning into muds. I know that Jolanda Ness started on full muds. The call had been made beforehand to go to full mud. And she started on full muds. And she had extra grip in the early part, whereas Brand didn't. The way the conditions changed, we saw some serious slides. Put Petersy, I mean, this is a rider who's been right up there. I mean, her battle last year, she was chasing Xan and Matt all the way, and I almost felt for her because it was like, well, yeah, Fem's not here, but Lucinda Brand is.
Yeah. So if we take these races as a whole, then I think for me, a few of the takeaways is Alvarado is, if we take away Vanderpoel and Brand, who are winning, who literally have won everything they've entered, but I think we see Alvarado is coming through very nicely. Thanks very much. We've got
great running.
Thibaut Del Grosso has been a joy to watch, and he's one way. If you go back to watch Antwerp, it is really good to watch him because you kind of notice him a lot more now when you know how he came through and the rest of it. And it's been brilliant seeing Fouquenet. So for me, though that's really been my riders, I suppose, of the those two, Del Grosso and Fouquenet. For the ones I've enjoyed watching over this series of races.
Xan, come on. Who for you? What's your takeaways from this sort of period?
Like, it's like we've obviously seen the dominance of both Vanderpoel and Lucinda Brand. I have to say, I think, as you said earlier, Neil, I think it was very popular with everyone. Like, I think everyone's seen Fouquenet being so close, not having the team, kind of getting on the podiums, being just there. Like, to actually see her get that win for me was so nice. Like, it was really good to see her up there again. I mean, maybe it's just as a rider that loves cycling. Like, I've also loved seeing Yolanda Neff coming back to cyclocross because she's kind of skipped it for a year, and she's come back and she's taken it to the field. Yes, okay, she's not on the podium just yet, but I mean, this girl has been away from cross for over a year, so to be where she is, I just think it's so impressive. I love watching her race personally. I almost find it more interesting being in the race because I actually get to see where she's coming through, where she's doing the overtakes, and she's not like a train. She's not just coming in there and smashing it past. She's just smooth with it. She just cuts through the field and it's really smooth. She comes past, you're like, oh, I could sit on her wheel. But the way she just cuts through riders, you're like, wow, okay, you can see that level of experience. And yeah, and I think everyone's going to say it, but Thibaut del Grosso, the maturity he seems to have in the way he's riding a bike, I have just loved watching.
I'm going to contradict you there because Thibaut del Grosso for me is kind of predictable. We've kind of known that's coming for a while. It's just been a matter of when was it happen? It's a bit like Matthew Van der Poel attack. When's it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And on like 3 or 4, Thibaut del Grosso is going to come along. We kind of knew that. So for me, it's not a real takeaway because kind of it's almost been coming so long. It's kind of old news. It's a bit like Oscar only going to Ineos on the road. It's like everybody's known about it for 4 months before it actually happened. It's been talked about on every podcast. That when it actually happens, it's not even news anymore. And I think for me, that's kind of in the same thing. I'm gonna make Neil very happy here because actually one of my takeaways is how much does Laurens Fiek want that leader's jersey? He squeaked away with a 1-point lead at the end of this. He wanted to take it in Sardinia. He took it in Antwerp. He's gone away from Havre with a 1-point lead on it. He's got Koksijde coming up where he always goes well. There's a real classic race of him battling it out. In fact, there's loads of them. How much he wants it, I think that's a real takeaway. I think the other takeaways for me have been about the fact that you've got Wout van Aert coming back in so well. Wout van Aert has not come back in and gone in where he came in previous seasons, like last season. He's come back in and he's actually going well. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if he does not win a World Cup, if not take away some big points and a podium at every race he does. So for me, that's one of the big ones in there. Fouquenet for me, I'm going to agree with that because I think it's a really just reward. And for me, it really shows somebody who has been battling and has worked her way through. She's raced a full season as well. It was really interesting to see. I thought a big takeaway from that. And I would agree with you, Neil. Alvarado coming up through, definitely one to watch, particularly when we go towards the end of the season with the races we've got coming up. Because for me, when we look at the very end, going right to the end, the finale of the season, which is for me the World Championships, in the men's race, Matthew Van der Poel at the moment is dominating in the men's race. The women's races, for me, the door has just been thrown wide open, and you've got Brand, Alvarado, Peterse, Neff potentially, Vass, and Anroy, all of which can excel on Hulst, which is a course of everything but sand.
Yeah,
it's got a bit of everything, but not masses of anything. And that, for me, means it's a course of mistakes and errors. And it's about who actually goes into that with the right mindset. Be really interesting to see.
Yeah, and so I think you've given us a good little link in there. So at that, I think it's time to take the bell and look forward to what's coming up in the last ronda. So this time in the last round, we have got so many events in the calendar between now and our next show. It's at least 8. We're not going to go through them exhaustively each time. But first of all, we've got some really interesting things to look towards. We've got Zoe Bäckstedt coming back. She's due to come back at Dendermonde. So you didn't mention Bäckstedt how well Backstead could potentially go at Hulse? We've got no idea, have we? Because we've not seen her race this year.
The problem for me, I love the fact she's back. I didn't think she'd be back this season.
No, I
at
didn't
all,
either.
Full stop. I really didn't have her down for being back this season. And because of that, I know how much she loves Cross. This is Zoe. She'll go at everything 150%. I have in the past called her mad as a box of frogs. Hold my hand up to that. And I think she is. And I said it at the same time, in the best wonderful way. She will go at everything full bore and give it everything. She's full of energy. You wouldn't put it past her to do it. She's just a winner. She's a born winner. But equally, that's a big ask, Neil. Big ask after a broken hand.
Yeah, it is. I know. But we just don't know, do we? She wouldn't be coming back if she wasn't.
That was
ready.
A big old crash.
I don't think. So the other thing is, as you just mentioned, Matt, it's only 1 point in the lead of the World Cup, and potentially could Vanderpoel take the World Cup lead at Dendermonde ahead of Sveik? No, he can't.
He's not on the start list.
No, he's not on the start list. So again,
it's
perfect, isn't it?
Or is it a reprieve for everybody else?
Oh, it's perfect. We still got. Yeah. He's still going to have something.
He was asked as well. Are you going to change your program? Because I've been hinting in the commentary. We're going to see a change now because Matthew Vanderpoel basically could take the lead. He almost, he's 1 point off the lead. He could have taken that. He only needs feet to finish one place back, literally one pace back at Gavere. And Vanderpoel had the lead because once you were tied on points, it goes to your number of first places. And come on, Vanderpoel's got that every time now. So, you just think Vanderpoel's got that; it's available. But he said, "I'm not going to change at the moment. We're going to leave it as it is."
Maybe he likes the rainbow stripes.
Literally, his words: "Stick with the program."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just tell you what's coming up. We've got Dendermonde, which we mentioned a little bit of, Lowenhout, Degen, Baal, Mol, Gillingham, and Zonhoven. All of them classics. I think listeners may know all of those races really well. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, if we had to get our top three, our podium, let's say, of races to prioritise to watch, what would that be between the three of us? And then we can see why. Let's just do a podium of the three that you would choose to watch. So Xan, you're going to be watching some of them from inside the tape, I guess. So which are you taking, or which are on your program?
Well, I'll be honest, there's big question marks. I will definitely be at Dendermonde and definitely at Baal and Zonhoven. I have Lowenhout on my program, but it's very much a case of we're going to kind of see where I'm after Dendermonde, especially after how I've been the last few days. So we're just going to kind of put that by ice. Of course, I love, but we'll see. And what I'd definitely say in terms of the best races, it kind of depends. Are you watching on TV or are you watching in real life? Because you get very different experiences depending on which you're doing. For example, I'd always say if you want to come see a cross race in Belgium, Baal and Degen are such iconic ones to go see. The atmosphere is great. The crowds are very, very drunk. They're such good ones to do. But in terms of actually watching, and Zonhoven is another really good one on TV to see in real life. To actually see the call and actually be in there, it's such a different experience. You look at it on TV and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. Look at it in real life, complete different story. But in terms of races that I think make good races, I think Dendermonde is a good one. Okay, it can be quite spaced out. But Lowenhout is also a really, I think because the course is almost simpler, it makes the racing better in terms of from a spectator point of view. And to be honest, I also think Baal leads to really good racing. And I think the skills that are on display at Baal are great to watch as well. So that'll be my top three, depending if you're here out in Belgium or if you're all watching on TV at home.
So if you're watching on TV, which are your top three?
Watching on TV, I'd say Lowenhout, Baal, and probably Dendermonde, to be honest.
Okay.
Yep. So
I'm expecting you guys to give me very different answers.
So I used to really like Lowenhout because I used to like the Upsy Whoopsies on it. But I've gone off them actually over the years.
Put the date in the calendar.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Because I think I prefer courses with natural features. rather than those oopsie whoopsies, which when you've watched them live, it's kind of it's sort of you come into them and actually you just pump your way through, and then it's over. But Lowenhout on the ground, there's the huge flyover at Lowenhout, and with literally it'll be 10,000 people either side of it, and as the riders come over, when you've got the favourite riders come over, the crowd goes crazy as they appear on this flyover. That is really, really special. If you're there in person, it's just that's just a really special moment. I would say my favourites of these were I've been to most of these in person actually, but not all of them. So I think Diegem is a race which is really good to go to, and if you're racing it, maybe race it at least once. It's got some really scary bits. Coming downhill on the road in the dark from the top is just terrifying. If you're there with your kids, don't watch them down that bit. It's you won't sleep for weeks.
Neil's got the t-shirt there clearly.
But it's really, really exciting race to watch. The floodlights make it really different, and you do get such close racing at Diegem. There's been some such classic battles at Diegem, especially if it's on the edge of muddy, where you got that mix of different types of skills and bravery and things. I can't not say Zonhoven, I'm afraid. Zonhoven is it's the one race in some respects. A lot of people say this is the most iconic cyclocross race. So I think for me it would be definitely Diegem and Zonhoven on the spectate list. Baal, I have such mixed feelings about Baal. It was so good last year.
You've slagged so much in the story. You've given it such criticism in the past, Neil. Come on,
I know
you don't like it.
Yeah, I don't. But I think if you're going to watch something, then Baal is such a good one to watch. It's you've got the riders in their new kit because it's the 1st of January. You've got the reverse pit. If you're going to Baal, don't forget that the first pit you get to is reverse and the second pit is a standard one. So do stand on the right side of the bike. Don't get caught out at that race. It does happen every year. So yeah, Baal. And I was, and there is that.
Top 3 for TV.
Scary Ipsy. Yeah. So top three I would say Diegem, Baal, Zonhoven.
Okay.
What about you, Matt?
Well, I am going to watch all of them twice. I was just trying to add up in my head how many hours of TV that is. I don't even want to work it out. If you include playing little bits back, I better start now. I can't. I think for me, if you can go to a cross race, go to any. Doesn't matter what. Whether it's local or national or a World Cup. I said this on live feed. Go. You just don't appreciate how steep it is, how fast everything is, and how skilled the riders are unless you stand at the side of the course and actually watch it. I've had the pleasure of doing it all over the place, and I still, so all these decades of standing watching bike races, still stand there and go, wow, OMG, that is huge. That is steeper. So go to any of them. In terms of watching, I think actually for me it's really straightforward. There are 3 standouts for me here, and they're for 3 very different reasons. Zonhoven is the classic, the big drop down into De Coil. I said before, I think for me it's the one race that if you had to put a bit of everything in, it's got muddy sections on the top, it's got cambered sections. We've seen races be won or lost by how people can traverse sections that are not sand. We've seen leaders go down. There's sections on the back with runs where things have become more difficult. And there's decisions to be made there. You've got the sand. You've got the new course in there with more sand in there as well, just because there wasn't enough. I think it's a classic. I think it's probably the classic. If you had to say, and maybe we should do this at the end. If you had to pick a list of monuments, cyclocross monuments that we were going forward, what would be, we've got monuments on the road, we've got classic mountain biking. What are your monuments? If you're out there, have a think about this, because this might be an end of year question. What would be your monuments? Zonhoven's definitely one of mine and always has been. So that's
on the
one
gritty cyclocross icons t-shirt.
There we go.
Neil's monuments.
There we go.
It is one of
Baal, 100%. Because for me, it shows you what you can do with a little sandy mound in the middle of a flat bit of wooded forest. If your name's Xan, it's in Xan's back garden. It has a mountain bike course centre. It's part of a big training area that trains not just the elite riders, but kids, school kids, everybody. And there's a great museum and cafe there as well that you can go have a look around. But when it comes to racing and watching it on telly, there are so many places where riders not only have to have the skills to go down those sections you were mentioning, Neil, but also you've got climbs where there are multiple climb lines, multiple lines of ascent. There's some real thinking in there, and it's really steep, and it is high risk as well. And there is that gamble because it is a permanent facility. Everything is made to last in there, including the fencing at the side of the course. If you get it wrong in places, it's not just going to be a little all that'll polish out. It's it's potentially a bike breaker if you get it wrong. So you don't want to get anything wrong on there. So for me, when you're watching that, there's a lot to watch all at once. But for me, if you're a true cyclocross fan, you're going to be watching Dendermonde. And because the reason is, if you've watched a lot of cross, you might just about have the skills, because you'll be much better than me, at picking out those moments which make a difference, because they're so subtle at Dendermonde. There is no one massive feature. There's no big mountain. There's no real single place where you can win that race in my head. It's all about different skills, whether that is the ability to ride through mud, whether it's the ability to transfer from muddy sections to concrete sections, your ability to position yourself coming in through different lines, your ability to run if it's muddy. It's got the spirit of classic cross in there. I hate both those phrases, so I'm going to use them both. Spirit of and classic cross. That is, for me, it really, you've got to watch it so closely. If you blink, you could miss it. And it's never just, for me, it's never just one move. It's a succession of moves that makes it. So for those three different reasons, Zonhoven, the monument, Baal, the spectacular one, and then you've got Dendermonde, which is the purists cross almost. Those would be my three.
Excellent. Yeah. So we've got, doesn't mean not to try to do the full whack. Mull, very, very sandy, very sketchy in places. Gulligem, and I think we've talked about all the others. So yeah, looking forward to all of those. Other race which is coming up very soon is the final round of the National Trophy, which is coming from Irvine, the Crossmonet, over New Year. So Irvine is back. We've raced there. I think it's been 2 in the past, and I did both of them. I spent a lot of time in this region actually when I was growing up. I used to go up to Saltcoats, which is just about a mile away. I used to walk down to this section, but never used to ride a bike on it at the time. I think the course is actually different to previous times when we've been there. There is going to be some actual beach. And it's on the beach. There's going to be sand. In the past, it was always a little bit, when you got there, you're expecting loads of sand, and there actually wasn't that much. But I think this time there's going to be a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's because we're going towards what is the Scottish cyclocross side of the Irvine course, which is over the back of the Dragon's Back. It's over the back of the hill that we were using as the big hill. So we were going from car parking the National Trophies to the big bank. Now it's the other side, which we didn't use before because of that. So I think it's a different side of the course. There's been a lot of work going down on there for sure. There, the posts that have been coming out of them out on course, tramping around the sandy banks at Irvine. I mean, I guess it's probably the nearest we get in some ways to a Koksijde or an Antwerp. Probably more Koksijde with the bankings. But for me, it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out and how the course rides, how they mix all the elements together. Part of a big weekend, though, which I think will be it's a really interesting thing. The concept of tying together a social stroke festival with serious racing has been tried in lots of different disciplines over the years and not worked in most, because trying to reconcile partying till the early hours with riders for whom a national trophy position is really key the following day, or a national series position is key the following day, doesn't really go together well. When I've seen it done, what generally happens is you get the people who are there to party have a great time at the expense of the people who are there to race. And the people who are there to race on the following days then generally have had little sleep and are grumpy, and then spoil the following days for the people moaning at the people who then partied all the way through the party time when there was an organised party on. So, I think it's going to take some great. It's going to be great organising to keep everybody happy in what's two often very conflicting things. I'm really interested to see how it works. I really hope it does. Don't get me wrong. I hope it does, because it's a great way to combine lots of different people on site, to put the work in and get lots of people racing in different races. Team relay on there as well, which, is still my favourite part of cyclocross, apart from maybe interregionals when you've got mixed age relay or mixed age groups.
I think we've got, in Gritty Race Team, we've got 2 teams entered into the
Have
relay.
You?
Unfortunately, I'm not in either of them because we're going up and I don't want to be bound by, I've got to get there in time to be on the start line. So we're actually going up on the day of that one. So
you can only do so much.
Well, I know. I had a lovely time, actually. I was just pitting. There was a Leicestershire League. Was it last weekend? You lose track this time of year, don't you? Leicestershire League in Wymeswold, which is the village I live in, and it's just kind of outside the village. But I wasn't racing at it, but we had a few riders racing. There were 3 riders there, so it was really nice just to go over. It took me about a minute to drive there with all my water, and then just to pit for 3 riders who were racing.
Can you just run a hose pipe out the back window?
Yeah, I could have done it. Yeah. So, but back to Irvine. It's going to be different. There's a lot of reasons why it's going to be different. I think the who's going to be there is going to be really interesting. I think it could open up to other winners from. I'd be very surprised if Thomas Main is there. He's won every round this year, but because this is not a UCI race, I think and he's already won the national trophy this year. There has to be a question of why would he go? And I think there's a lot of other people who are wanting to stay in Belgium.
Seems true of Fionn Drake as well. Why go if you've won the trophy already, or if your position's secure further down through the field?
Yeah.
If you have the potential that you're going to go race, it's Kerste Periode, basically. So it's back end of Kerste Periode, isn't it? So
exactly,
you've got the lots of options to race elsewhere. So in terms of top end riders and riders who are spectators or pit crew for top end riders, because we've got to remember, quite often you see the people who are winning the elite races are actually pitting in the vets races or vice versa. I think it'd be interesting to see. It does open up the possibility of new riders and having that experience of being on the front of the race. That when you get Thomas Main turn up or Fionn Drake turn up, or in the days when we had Ian Field or Helen Wyman, when they came back over to race national champs, everybody just went, all right, I've gone down a place, a bit like the Vanderpoel syndrome, and the Lucinda Brown syndrome could occur. Actually, it's the opportunity. You take the opportunity, and it's your chance to actually step up, move, gain points, have that experience of racing up at the pointy end or closer to that pointy end for sure.
Yeah. So just kind of clarifications, because I was trying to find the right word. Distinctive, I think, is the social media post style, which have been associated with this whole event. So there's been a couple of things which have caused a bit of confusion on there, including to me, and some of the posts were clarified afterwards, which was good. So thanks, Irvine team, for doing that. So even though it's not a UCI race, it is still under normal British cycling rules for a national trophy. So effectively, bike regulations are the same. Okay, so there was a post.
These are the 2 days of the national trophy rather than the nighttime.
There's 2 days of nighttime, the kind of the Hogmanay celebration and the 1st of January relay and stuff, where it's open to all comers and you can ride whatever you like basically on there. But then when it comes to national trophy, it's like normal national trophy rules. So that the 80% is always up to the commissaires anyway. And so, the last few rounds that's not been applied, I'm in no position to say yes or no on that, what to expect. But I will, I'm not going to say anymore. I'll be surprised if they did apply it. But, the comms are there to keep it safe and that back markers aren't risking the leaders of the race. And so if there is a situation where someone's going to get lapped 5 times, then they may have to take difficult decisions that they weren't actually planning on doing. So it's we'll open that up. But effectively, those 2 days are the same as normal national trophy, except it's non-UCI, so you won't get UCI points for those. It's, of course, there's a lot on the sand. Xan, you are our sand specialist. You've done more miles on the sand or more minutes on the sand than anyone else over the past few days. You're not at Irvine. That wasn't on your list before. So tell us, you can spill all the beans of what your tyre tips would be, what your strategy would be for a race like this. What would you advise riders to do with those sand sections? It's sort of looking at, I think there's 2 sections of about 80 meters is what they're previewing.
Well, the one thing I've always been taught, and what we always try and do, is you want to set your bike up for 90% of the course, not 10%, unless that 10% is the most absolute key 10%, and that's going to be the majority of the time. You'd want to, so if the rest of the course is muddy, I don't think it will be, because from my memory riding at Irvine, it's pretty dry, compact ground, so chances are you are going to be on either like an intermediate or a file tread type tyre. But obviously set your bike up for the majority of the course, not just the 2 sand sections or however big they are. But say the sand is like the key defining feature that is the majority of the course. One thing to remember with sand is speed is your friend, which is always the scary bit, because you can't see to stand and you don't want to hit it at lots of speed, but the faster you come into it, the more momentum you'll have going into it and you want to carry through. And the other thing is actually you probably want to go lower on your tyre pressures than you think. A lot of people think they want them really hard and rock solid. But actually when you put your tyre pressures a bit softer, you'll find you'll kind of float and it gives your tyre more area over the sand and it works better. Can't go into too much of the science behind it because that is not my department. I just know how it rides and feels. And then the other part is just being confident in it. I think if you think you're going to come off and you think you're going to crash, or you tell yourself, oh, I can't ride in the sand, lo and behold, you can't ride in the sand. But if you actually try and think, actually, I can do this, I'm going to give it a good go, you'll find naturally it will be better. But just enjoy it. The national trophies are such good races. Irvine has always had it's quite an interesting course and it's raced very differently to other races. So I think it should just be good fun this year.
And I think that point that you made there, Xan, is really true, isn't it? And it's thinking about the bike being set up for most of the course, and it's no good saying, well, I've got 2 sand sections, if even with the best bike setup, you're going to only run a short proportion. Let's say you make 5 meters in the sand and it's 100 meters long. That's 95 meters of running. Are you going to compromise? That means basically it doesn't matter what your bike tyres are for 95 metres of that 100-metre run. You could have JCB tyres on there or Formula One slicks. It won't make any difference once it's on your shoulder. It's the actual bit you can ride with the tyres, isn't it? In the sand that you have to set the tyres for the sand. Don't think, oh, it's the whole sand section, when actually, yes, Thomas Means and Crees can go right through, or right through that with all of the sand section. When you, Joe Bloggs, Matt Payne, Neil Mansfield are going to run 5-10 meters of it, and then we're going to be putting the bike on our shoulder, and actually you're then compromising. So it's getting that balance. It's being smart, isn't it? Really thinking about it. But I think really good point about the confidence. I think, it's and it's sound.
Yeah, I think the other point you made is bang on, Xan. Actually, is you're there to enjoy. There are a few people there who are there because they want it to be their career, but not many. Most people are there because this is what they enjoy doing. And I do think it's worth, okay, even if you're really worried about the sand, just play, just have a go into it full pelt and just see what it's like, because if you fall off in the sand, it's a lot better than falling off on rocks. So it's fine. Just try it, because this is, then when you hear the commentary of how hard it is in the sand, at least you've got an idea of what that actually feels like when you're watching the other races. So I think it is worth saying to yourself, what am I here for? I'm actually here because I've paid to do something that I want to do, and so enjoy it. But bang on. I always say to riders, it doesn't, if the bike's on your shoulder, it doesn't matter what tire pressures you're running. So it's fine. Don't worry about those bits. So I'm looking forward to going to Irvine. We've not been there for a while. I'm interested to see what they're going to have done with it. I think the whole event is intriguing. It's going to be fun, and I know that there's a fair few from my team are going to be there, so I'm looking forward to seeing them over the next few days. So that, I think, will wrap things up. So Xan, have a brilliant rest of your birthday.
Thank you.
I hope that you're able to enjoy everything and get yourself prepped, ready for Dendermonde, which is your next race. So where can we find out more if we want to find out how you get on at Dendermonde?
My social medias are all really easy, as long as you know how to spell my name. It's just Xan Creed, pretty much on everything. So that's like Instagram, Facebook, X or Twitter, etc. You can find me on all of those. Also, if you want updates mid-race, we have Xan Creed Racing, where we share like little mini in-race updates there. Matt, whereabouts are we finding you at the moment? Which race are you covering next this time?
Oh, Dendermonde. Yep, I'm actually mid-prep. I'm sat in the studio with half the screens with prep on them and the other half with the show on them. So, Dendermonde. So about halfway through that prep. Then after Dendermonde, going to be Zonhoven is the next cyclocross race, plus cycling esports, plus other bits and pieces we've got going on, some voiceover stuff. But lots of studio time in between. Looking forward to the point where I can actually go have some Christmas dinner instead of just dry bread and toast. So that'll be really cool. Looking forward to that. Got to admit, and then maybe get back out on the bike again. At the moment, I'd definitely be on the DNF list if I was out there. Neil, whereabouts you? We know you're not to Gritty. People can follow Gritty on social media for any updates, unless you got any secret exclusive news for the Crosscast. Anything happened that we don't know about?
There's always exclusive news. So you can follow us at Gritty Kit. And you can pop over to gritty.co.uk. It's always quite nice. It's always quite fun when you get the Boxing Day ka-chings that come through your phone when people have been onto the website and you think, oh, you didn't get what you wanted for Christmas, so you bought it for yourself anyway, which is quite fun. And then one of the things for us is it's been a while coming, but we're going to be one of the main sponsors for Battle on the Beach.
Cool.
Early next year, so it's something we've been trying to sort out for a while, and so that's great. And so we're actually going to look into. I know exactly, yeah. Hence all of the sand tips. So those people who are entering Battle on the Beach, do have a look. We're hoping to get it done in time, otherwise it will be a post pre-order. But that we'll be doing some custom jerseys for that you'll be able to pre-order. I'm
right in thinking, aren't I, Neil, that entries for Battle on the Beach open on, is it midnight on the 1st of January?
Normally.
1st of January.
That's right, yeah.
Sam, have you done Battle on the Beach before?
I did it last year, yes.
Yes. Doing it this year?
Yes. So USC, one of my sponsors, are also a sponsor of Battle on the Beach. So I go with them and do it as one of the athlete ambassadors for USC, pretty much. But it's such a good event.
Yeah, it's going to be
might just come over and just watch for a bike race to watch. Because there isn't enough bike racing.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. If you want to support the show, thanks everyone who has been supporting the show and for all your Christmas greetings to us. So thanks ever so much for that. But if you want to support the show, then go over to buymeacoffee.com/crosscast. you can find out more on there or listen to the end of any of the other shows. But with that, we're going to wrap things up. Thanks again, Matt. Thanks, Xan. That's our last time. I guess we'll meet in person online. So have a great new year, however you celebrate it. If it's, with loading the van, in my case, ready to go up to Irvine, or prepping for Baal, in your case, Xan or Matt. I don't know, you're the only one of us who's able to actually party on New Year. So,
do you know what? That sounds like a great idea. Yeah, right. Do you know? If I'm going to go for a bike ride, I might even go put the bike lights on, see if I can go ride over see the new year in on the bike, since I've done not enough riding.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, unless it's as cold as it is at the moment, in which case maybe not.
Love it. Excellent.
We'll see.
I know that, listeners, video watchers, have a great rest of your Kerste period, and we'll see you on the other side of the tape. Bye.